Hi guys, welcome to my channel KP Financial and Strategy Review. Myself Praveen Kumar. In today's video, we'll discuss about two important elements of financial statements. One is profit balance, another is cash balance. In the previous session, we have discussed about different types of financial statements like P&L income statement, other comprehensive income, balance sheet, cash flow statement, notes to accounts. We have discussed in a short summary in the previous sessions. But in this today's video, we'll discuss about only two important elements: what is profit balance and what do you mean by cash balance, and why it is important, and which one is most important than other. And whenever you are in a position of ethical dilemma to select only one of the item, then which one generally we will choose by considering short-term nature versus long-term scenarios. We'll discuss in a short summary. See, what do you mean by profit? First of all, profit nothing but it is an amount of net income, final net income, which has been earned in the particular accounting period by the business entity. How to arrive it? Income minus expenses will get the profit. What do you mean by income? Revenue plus other income is called as an income. And minus expenses. What do you mean by expenses? Two types of expenses: product expense and period expense. Product expense is nothing but cost of goods sold. Period expense are nothing but fixed expenses in terms of general admin, selling and distribution, sales and marketing, and certain kind of R&D, etc. So sales minus all these expenses will get the operating profit. And if you can remove minus interest expense, whatever is available, minus tax expense, whatever is applicable, so the net amount you will get the net profit. So profit is nothing but this is the net income after adjustment of all expenses, interest, and as well as the tax portion. Whatever is the amount of net income which has been earned in the accounting period, that is called as a profit. But whatever the amount of profit which has been shown in the P&L doesn't mean that this is the real amount of cash has been generated in the business. Doesn't mean that this much of cash has been created in the business and which can be matched with the cash balance or bank balance or cash flow statement. Doesn't mean like that. Why? Because whatever the profits which has been shown in the P&L, that is only book profits, and these are the profits only on paper. Doesn't mean that is a real cash profit. Why? Because all financial statements are prepared generally on accrual basis of accounting, and P&L also prepared based on accrual basis of accounting. Under accrual basis of accounting, whatever the income which has been shown in the P&L doesn't mean the real cash is received. In the similar way, whatever the expenses which has been shown in the P&L doesn't mean this has been expenses are really paid. In the income, we have seen the economic entity concept and as well as probability concept we have seen. Based on that, we have recorded and recognized and measured. And in the similar way, expenses also based on the probability and as well as present obligation, which has been recognized and measured and recorded in the P&L. Doesn't mean which has been already received cash, doesn't mean which has been already paid in cash. So if you want to know really what is the cash profit, you need to refer to section A of cash flow statement. What do you mean by that? Under a cash flow statement, if you refer to section A, in a cash flow statement there are three sections: operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. ABC. If you refer to A section, operating activities, there we can relate and understand what is the amount of cash has been generated by the business entity during the particular accounting period, and there how it has been prepared. We have taken the profits and their non-cash item depreciation amortization has been adjusted. Thereafter changes in the working capital has been adjusted. So we will get the net cash flow generated in the business activities plus or minus, we will get that. And one more thing, whenever there is a profit, whenever there is a positive profit, doesn't mean there is a positive cash balance. In the similar way, whenever there is a negative profits called losses, whenever there is a losses, doesn't mean there is a negative cash balance. So profits doesn't mean there is a positive cash balance. Losses doesn't mean there is a negative cash balance. Doesn't mean like that. Always there can be vice versa is possible. There can be profits in the business, cash balance can be negative, bank balance can be negative, and there can be losses in the business entity, but bank balance and cash balance can be positive. How is this possible? In the previous session we have discussed about. Those who have not watched the previous session, I request and advise to watch the previous session to understand the logic and the reasons behind this. And in addition to that, whenever any ethical dilemma to select only one of the item, whether profits or cash balance, which one you need to select? Generally, which one the business entity will select it? Generally, they will select the cash balance. Why? Because in order to run the business, in order to carry out the day-to-day operations of the business, cash balance is more important. Cash is more important rather than the profits. Why? Because in order to pay to the employees cash salary, in order to pay to the employee salaries, cash is required. In order to pay to the suppliers, on as per the due dates and as per the advance payments, or as per the due dates credit terms. For suppliers, those who supplied goods and materials and services, for them cash is required. And even in order to pay to the utilities and service providers like telephone and utilities, current, water, electricity, etc., gas, etc., cash is required. In a similar way, if you want to pay to the bank the interest expense EMI portion, cash is required. In order to pay to the government tax portion and deposit the tax on time, cash is required. So cash balance is most important rather than the profit balance. Why? Because profits are only a bookish profit which is on paper, which is shown, but that is not the real cash. Why? Because due to certain P&L items include certain provisions, accruals, adjustments has been made, estimations are made in P&L account. So the profits are also not a real profit. That is not the real cash profit, I mean to say. That is a real profit, but doesn't mean that is a real cash profit. So if at all there is a profit, generally what will happen? See, in scenarios, if there is a profit, generally what will happen? Profit generally two ways. Number one, they will be reinvested in the profit in the same business, or they will go for some other investments. Other, they will go for repayment of liabilities and the debts of bank, financial institution if they have, and thereafter finally they will go for the buyback of the shares, or they will go for the declaring of the dividend to the shareholders. In a similar way, whenever there is a cash, if there is an excess cash, what they will do with the excess cash? Whenever there is excess cash, generally they will go for investment in the same business. If there is a possibility for expansions and investments in the growth, if not, they will go for mergers and acquisitions, or go for outside investments and go for conglomerate investments. And here, otherwise, whenever there is a possibility for NPV is positive, that net present values are positive. So wherever there is a return, if you make an investment, see, whenever the cash balance, doesn't mean that always go for investments. The investment should be worth and viable, that should be give a positive NPV, so that whatever the investments will give, that is going to increase the wealth of the shareholders and as well as increase the value of the business in the long run. So if that investment is a good investment, generally the company will go for investments. If there is no possibility for growth or investment, generally they will go for payback of liabilities or go for buyback of shares and securities from the shareholders. Otherwise, least option is go for declaration of dividends. So regarding these dividends, we will discuss in the future with dividend strategy separately. How many dividend strategies are there generally, when the companies will generally declare the dividends, what are the declaration of dividends, and what are the dividend policies, and how this is going to affect the share market, and how this is going to affect the stock prices and the business valuations. We will discuss in a short summary in the going forward. And to conclude this, there are a lot of business entities including Amazon or eBay or Flipkart. Even if you see their financial performance in the P&L account, still their profits are at loss, but the balance sheet is very strong. You can ask one question: being a business entity, this much of business that they are doing, and the purpose of establishment of business organization as a commercial entity is to make the profits. So as long as there is no making and not a profit, then why they are carrying the business? And when there is a negative and there is no profit, then why they are not focusing much on the profit? Why they are focusing only on the cash balance? This should be the logical question. For this, the answer could be, see, in a P&L there is a loss, means that could be number one, sales are not good, the market is not, they are not able to capture the market due to economical factor, internal factors, external factors, market demand, supply, etc. What are the factors? That could be some could be within the control of the company, some could be outside of the control of the company due to economical and political reasons also. So expenses could be due to many reasons, and that could be due to inefficiencies, or could be due to ineffectiveness, or could be due to period expenses, or that could be due to lot of investments as made in terms of IT improvement and as well as logistical improvement and as well as ERP improvement and as well as artificial intelligence improvements. So in such case also a lot of expenses are going to be incurred. So all those expenses prepaid and thereafter amortized to P&L, that because of that also there could be losses. So the loss could be due to many reasons. So whenever there is a P&L, there is a loss, doesn't mean the business is not doing good. For example, if you see Amazon and eBay, they are doing the business very well, but even there their P&L is negative. Why? Because they are making lot of expenses, they are incurring lot of amount of expenditure incurred in expenses in order to improve their business, in order to increase their value chain process, in order to improve their business activities. So with this, even though their P&L is negative right now, but their balance sheet is very strong right now. In the going period, in the future periods, these profits will be in the future period they will start generating the profits, and their business valuations are very high, and they are projecting the good amount of cash inflows and as well as positive cash flows in the near future, in the going forward future. Because of that, even though there is a losses in the present period, but even then they're still carrying on the business and investing large amount of investments in the business. Why? Because they will see there is a high success rate and as well as high probability that cash flow will be generated and the profits will be generated in the near future because of that. So the crux of the subject is profit is important, but cash balance is much more important. You need to make a proper balance between, strike a proper balance management between profits and cash balance. But whenever in a difficult dilemma to select, generally cash balance is more important than profit balance. Hope you understand the crux of this subject. Stay tuned. I will be posting very shortly. I will be posting series of videos very shortly. Thank you very much. Stay tuned.